Alright, this video will help you with analysis assignment number 2. It's just an example that's similar. This is the example that we're doing in class. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking at a piece of data that asks people their attitudes towards shopping, and 1 through 7, agree to disagree on that scale, what they think of shopping. So we're going to go into SPSS and actually load the data. And it's this one, lecture 10, shopping. So when we load the data in, just one thing I want to point out, this is the variable view. You'll see that we have information, 1 through 9. Um, Through this exercise, we're actually going to be saving data into this database. So I just wanted to point that out so you know when you've saved something. So the first thing, part of this exercise is clustering. So we're essentially taking a whole bunch of people that took our survey and trying to group them uh, into commonalities. And we do this, the first step is to classify, and we're going to do this one, the hierarchical clustering. So we're going to take those 6 questions, V1 through V6, and put them into variables. Now when we go to method, we have to switch that to the Ward's method, and Professor Larson will explain why. And we're going to use this distance. And then we're going to want to go to plots and hit this, the dendrogram. I think that's how you say it. And then just hit OK. You're ready to go. So SPS just will process this out. And what we really want to look is at this chart. And to quickly explain this chart, what it's doing is it's showing different levels of grouping and how accurate an assessment that is. For example, if we just did one giant group, this one out here, we'd have an error of 25. Obviously, an error of 25 is too much. So let's say we went to the next smallest, 2 groups. Well, we could have one group that had about a 17.5 error, and then this other group that would have only 4.5. So this one is good, 4.5, but this one, obviously 17 is too much. So let's go to the next stage, 3 clusters. What does that look like? Well, this is our first cluster. It's below 5. Our second cluster also below 5. And our third cluster also below 5. So we know 3 clusters will work. We could go lower if we wanted, but we'll stick with 3 for this exercise. So then we're going to go back and we're going to run this same analysis again, but this time we're going to save it. And be sure to hit single solution and enter in 3 for the number of clusters that you want to save. And then it'll run the exact same analysis again. This isn't new information. If you look at your variable view, now we have a number 10, and you can see that it saved it as the Ward's method. Okay, now we can analyze this data now and see what these clusters really mean. So we want to go to Analyze, Compare Means, Means. So we're going to take those 6 variables, put them in our dependent list, and then put our Ward method into the independent list. And essentially what this is going to do is it's basically going to compare each of those clusters and how they, on average, answered to these questions. So we're also going to hit options. And so when we do this analysis, we're going to get 3 numbers: the means, the number of cases, and standard deviations. To make the data easier to read, we're going to get rid of standard deviation and number of cases. We just don't need them. All we want to do is what's the, on average, what did each of these clusters rate their experience. Then we hit OK. And when we look down here, we can compare. Let me pull this up so it'll be easier to see. So here are 3 clusters, cluster 1, 2, 3, and you can look across and you can see how they rate these. So 7 meant that they agree and 1 meant that they disagreed. So if we look at cluster 1, they thought shopping was fun. Oh, let me pull that back up. They also thought they also like to combine shopping with eating out. Okay, so cluster 2, they ranked really high, really only on number 5, which is I don't care about shopping. Makes sense. They don't like shopping. Cluster number 3, what they rank high? Uh, they ranked V2, shopping is bad for your budget. V4, I try to get the best buys while shopping. And V6, you can save a lot of money by comparing prices. So these are, kind of our bargain hunters. They like to save money when they shop. Another thing that we can do here is we can make a snake chart to compare all these things. Um, Basically, you can just copy and paste this information into Excel, and you can insert a line chart. And there we go. We got a snake plot. I'm not going to spend the time to make the snake plot look good, but the data points do match up. And so back to our analysis. Um, so another thing that we can also compare um, is not only these 6 questions, but also their income and mall visits. So if we look at this, remember cluster 1, they were the ones that really like shopping. They have more money than everyone, and they make 3.5 visits. Number 2, they hated shopping, and you can see they rate 1 on a mall visit. So that makes sense. They hate shopping. They don't go to the mall. So number 3, they are the bargain hunters, which makes sense. They have the lowest income, but they go to the mall the most, which is kind of interesting. Um, so Professor Larson will talk about face validity and just does this data make sense? And you could make an argument that people that are bargain hunters are, why did they go to the mall so much? Um, so another thing we can do is we can do a sensitivity analysis and really compare what the analysis we just did with another similar analysis, um, and we'll do that with our k-means cluster. So once again, we're going to pull our six attributes in, and we're doing 3 clusters because that's what we want to compare against. 3 clusters we did it in the previous analysis to this one. And then we're going to want to save this and be sure to hit cluster membership. Continue. Okay. So it will run that analysis. Once again, if you jump back to variable view, you'll see that once again we have a new line of information that we saved. So now we're going to do one analysis to see what's the sensitivity between 2 analyses and if we're doing it right. So we're going to go to analysis, descriptive statistics, and go to this crosstabs. And you're going to put Ward method in rows and cluster number of cases in columns. And this one could go in this one, that one can go in that one. It really doesn't matter. We're going to run this analysis. And so what this is telling us, looking at this chart, as you can see, they're in complete agreement. So we know we have good data and did a good analysis. So that is it for analysis, preparation for analysis assignment number 2.